Hello and thanks for joining us for our mid-morning edition of Arirang News. I'm Mark Broom. Let's start with a look at the day's headlines. With the big reveal on the summit's date and location a matter of days away, North Korean leader Kim Jong-un mentions the Pyongyang-Washington summit for the first time. He says it should be a positive step for the two sides. 3 Americans freed by North Korea are on a plane home. President Trump will be there to greet them upon their arrival. But what of the South Koreans still held captive in the north? We take a closer look. Plus, year one done. President Moon Jae-in marks his first anniversary as South Korea's leader. It's been a successful 12 months, keeping his promise of making peace with North Korea and being the people's president. Our top story this morning, North Korea has responded to U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo's visit to Pyongyang on Wednesday, and the regime seems like it's satisfied. The regime's state-run media, Korean Central News Agency and Korean Central Television reported Thursday that Kim Jong-un met Pompeo and the two reached a satisfactory consensus on the upcoming North Korea-U.S. summit. The report said Kim highly appreciated Trump's message that he wanted to settle the situation on the Korean Peninsula through dialogue, and that Kim said the summit will be a historic first meeting in starting off optimistic developments on the Korean Peninsula and building a great future. The media also mentioned that Kim accepted the official request from the U.S. to release American detainees and that Pompeo thanked Kim for the satisfactory talks. And U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo says the date and location of the historic summit between the leaders of North Korea and the United States will be announced within the next couple of days. Pompeo is currently en route back to the U.S. following his second trip to Pyongyang. President Trump also said Wednesday that all will be revealed soon, but he ruled out the inter-Korean border as the venue. Kim Hyo-sun with the details.
U.S. President Donald Trump has hinted that the final date and location for his summit with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un will be announced very soon, probably before the weekend. Speaking at a cabinet meeting Wednesday, Trump ruled out the inter-Korean border as the venue for their historic meeting.
And we very much look forward to having the meeting between the United States and North Korea, and that'll be announced over the next couple of days. As to timing,
President Trump also hailed the release of 3 American detainees who had been held captive by the North. He said he appreciated the North Korean leader's decision to release the Americans ahead of their planned summit.
Right now, flying back are 3 what they were calling hostages. We call them fine people, 3 really fine people. Seem to be healthy. They'll be landing at 2 o'clock in the morning at Andrews Air Force Base. And I'll be there to greet them. Mike will be with me. And I appreciate Kim Jong-un doing this and allowing them to go.
Trump's comments come as U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, who was in Pyongyang this week for his second trip in just over a month, also hinted Wednesday that progress was being made in preparing for the North Korea-U.S. summit. While returning home from the North Korean capital with the freed American detainees, Pompeo said the summit will be 1 day long, but may be extended if the two countries have more agenda items to put on the table. During his 13-hour stay in Pyongyang, which Pompeo described as a good day, he met with Kim Jong-un to discuss the summit. Pompeo also reaffirmed Washington's commitment to establish peace on the Korean Peninsula by cooperating with the North, as he sat down with Kim Yong-chol, head of the North's United Front Department, handling inter-Korean relations and a close political aide to Kim Jong-un. Kim Yong-chol first told Pompeo that Pyongyang has high expectations that the U.S. will play a big role in establishing peace on the Korean Peninsula. Pompeo responded that the American side is also committed to achieving exactly that. He also expressed hope that the two could work together to solve the conflict, despite having been enemies for decades. Kim Hyo-sun, Arirang News.
Now, Trump administration officials have reportedly been instructed to move forward with plans to hold the historic summit between North Korean leader Kim Jong-un and President Trump in Singapore, according to CNN. While the decision ultimately is up to Trump, the Southeast Asian city-state has been the preferred location among US officials who see its neutrality as an advantage over locations closer to Pyongyang. This comes as the US president on Wednesday ruled out the inter-Korean border as a potential location, with Singapore being the only other venue Trump has mentioned. And President Trump says North Korea's release of 3 American citizens is a gesture of goodwill that will have positive effects on the upcoming North Korea-U.S. summit. In a phone conversation with South Korean President Moon Jae-in late Wednesday night, Trump briefed the South Korean leader on the American detainees on their way back home with his Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, saying they are in good health, and thanked Mr. Moon for his help in the release.
I just spoke to President Moon and explained what was taking place with respect to the 3 gentlemen. And President Moon of South Korea was very, very happy to hear it. He likewise has been incredibly helpful.
Mr. Trump also told Mr. Moon that Pompeo had productive talks with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. The South Korean leader said it was an excellent decision for human rights and humanitarian reasons, and credited the US president's strong determination and leadership for making it happen. Seoul's presidential Blue House told reporters that President Trump said he would be announcing the time and place of his meeting with Kim Jong-un very shortly. So, with North Korea releasing 3 American detainees, the question remains as to whether Pyongyang will do the same for the 6 South Korean detainees still being held captive by the regime. In a statement released upon news of the 3 Americans heading back with US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo, Senior Communications Secretary to the South Korean President Yoon Young-chan called on Pyongyang to spread peace on the peninsula and swiftly repatriate the 6 South Koreans detained in the north. The Unification Ministry also said Seoul is working to resolve the detainee issue through inter-Korean talks and cooperation with the international community, adding that it will continue to make active efforts to bring them home as swiftly as possible. Officials have already said that President Moon Jae-in brought up the detainee issue to North Korean leader Kim Jong-un during the recent inter-Korean summit. A day to remember, and the first time for a South Korean president to visit Japan in over half a decade. During his brief stay in Tokyo on Wednesday, President Moon Jae-in met with his counterpart in the host country and the Chinese premier, and got a lot done during his sit-downs with the leaders. Our Blue House correspondent Hwang Ho-jun reports.
Diplomacy was the name of the game. Resuming the 3-way talks for the first time since 2015, South Korean President Moon Jae-in, Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe, and Chinese Premier Li Keqiang said they thoroughly discussed how their countries can work together to deal with the North Korea issue while seeking the complete denuclearization of the Korean peninsula and the establishment of lasting peace in the region. They welcomed the outcome of the recent inter-Korean summit and even adopted a special statement welcoming the Panmunjom Declaration. In the statement, which was issued late Wednesday night, they also expressed their hopes that such result will lead to the success of the upcoming Pyongyang-Washington summit and pledged joint efforts for peace and stability in Northeast Asia. During the joint press conference, however, the focal point of each leader reflected a slightly different approach. President Moon voiced the importance of holding the Trilateral summit on a regular basis.
항구적 평화 정착을 위한 과정에서 삼국 간 긴밀한 소통과 협력이 지속적으로 이루어지길 기대하고 약속합니다.
The Japanese Prime Minister stressed that the international sanctions on North Korea need to be adhered to get the regime to take concrete action, such as resolving the decades-long issue of its abductions of Japanese citizens.
It is the 3 countries' common stance to completely fulfill the UN Security Council's resolutions on North Korea issues.
China wanted to make sure that it would still be able to exert influence on North Korea-related affairs.
China hopes for the restoration of dialogue and for a political resolution of the Korean Peninsula issue by making the most of this opportunity. To this end, China will continue to play a constructive role.
Economic cooperation between the three countries was also a key part of the three-way meeting. The leaders noted that their combined GDP accounts for around 20% of the global economy and agreed that together they can accomplish anything. They also attended a business summit, encouraging business leaders from all three countries to do more together. President Moon stressed the need to jointly tackle trade protectionism. And he called for joint efforts to conclude negotiations on the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, or RCEP, a regional free trade pact involving South Korea, Japan, and China, as well as ASEAN nations. Moon, Abe, and Lee also pledged support for the upcoming Summer and Winter Olympics hosted by Tokyo and Beijing respectively, and agreed to boost the number of visitors among the three countries to 30 million by 2020.
The recent inter-Korean summit and the Panmunjom Declaration were apparently more than sufficient reasons to end the Trilateral talks' 2.5-year hiatus. And now with the emergence of North Korea on the global stage, three-way cooperation between Seoul, Tokyo, and Beijing has become critical to navigating the region's changing diplomatic landscape. Hwang Ho-jun, Arirang News, Tokyo.
Now, with North Korea and China strengthening their ties following the recent summits between their leaders, Chengdu in China's western region is reportedly opening a flight route to Pyongyang via North Korean airline Air Goryeo. According to travel industry insiders, 10 travel agencies in Chengdu have been asked to sell flights to Pyongyang for the June to September period. The unnamed source added that more Chinese cities will be added in the future. At present, Air Goryeo only has regular flights to Beijing and Shenyang in China and Vladivostok in Russia. The wreck of the Sewol-ho ferry that capsized in waters off Korea's southwestern coast more than 4 years ago will finally be placed upright today, paving the way for new findings that could help the ongoing investigation into that dreadful disaster. The ferry itself was only brought onto shore about a year ago. Let's connect to our Kim Mo-kyun, who has been on the scene since this morning. So Mo-kyun, it's mid-morning now. I'm presuming that operations have already gotten underway.
Yes, Mark. I'm here at the Mokpo Newport, and the lifting operations are gearing up as I speak. Along with me today are some 300 bereaved family members of the victims, as well as reporters and camera teams from numerous media outlets, waiting for the ferry to finally show its full shape for the first time since it capsized in April 2014. The Sewol-ho Investigation Committee started the process around an hour ago, pulling 64 wires to the 10,000-ton floating crane that's connected to a total of 66 steel beams installed on the left side and under the ferry. We hear that over the next 4 hours, the vessel will gradually be pulled upright in 6 stages, tilting the body from the ferry by 35 degrees from the ground to 50 degrees and eventually to 90 degrees. Currently, we are halfway to finishing the operations as the ship has successfully been tilted by 40 degrees.
So what happens after this then, Mo-kyun, and why is this turning operation so significant?
Well, Mark, once the Sewol-ho is lifted to an upright position, the committee says it will install a pathway that can allow access to the ship's interior, and then they can start to remove any hazardous elements that may still be inside the hull. After which, investigators will officially begin their search for the bodies of the 5 victims still unaccounted for all these years later. They will also look for new clues that could unlock fresh evidence about what caused the disaster. Many family members are also hoping to find the belongings of their loved ones that could still be inside the vessel. But investigators say official search operations are unlikely to start for the next few weeks, as the process of safely securing the ferry, including removing the support beams, won't be finished until June 10th. Back to you, Mark.
Well, thank you very much, Mo-kyun, for that report from Mokpo, where the Sewol-ho ferry is being lifted into an upright position so they can start the search properly inside of that ill-fated ferry. Now, exactly 1 year ago, on a much happier note, Moon Jae-in took charge of the top office and became South Korea's first Liberal president in nearly a decade. With an open approach to government, he currently has an approval rating of over 80%. Yes, you heard that correctly, 80%. Our Won Jung-hwan recaps the first year of President Moon's tenure at the Blue House.
Moon Jae-in was sworn into office the same day as the final votes were counted, marking his first day at the Blue House on May 10th. Unlike other presidential elections, there was no transition period between election and inauguration, as the election came about from former President Park Geun-hye's impeachment. And that could be why President Moon, also known as Candlelight Movement President, has sought to change the way politics is done in Korea, even looking to rewrite the constitution.
나라를 나라답게 만드는 대역사가 시작됩니다. 이 길에 함께 주십시오.
President Moon's efforts to bring about changes with the new administration can be witnessed by small things like how he takes a stroll with his Blue House staff, holding a coffee in a cordial and friendly manner.
대통령 지시에 대해서 의견을 제기하는 것은 해도 되느냐가 아니라 해야 할 의무입니다.
President Moon has vowed to communicate more actively with the public, and actions such as stepping away from his guarded convoy to shake hands with the public or showing sincere condolence at the site of disasters like fires and earthquakes sets him apart from his authoritarian predecessors.
늦었지만 정부를 대표해서 머리 숙여 사과와 위로의 말씀을 드립니다.
He has also improved ties with Beijing and tried to resolve the conflict over the THAAD missile system deployment. And as for the Korean peninsula, Moon Jae-in has played a significant role in building towards peace with Pyongyang.
평화가 시작된 동계올림픽이라고 특별하게 기록해 주길 바랍니다.
President Moon invited North Korea to the Pyeongchang 2018 Winter Olympics, and the North sent a delegation to Pyeongchang, starting the atmosphere of reconciliation between the two Koreas. The Peace Olympics restored confidence in Moon as the driver for a peaceful resolution of the Korean crisis and helped secure Kim Jong-un's first agreement to hold an inter-Korean summit and a possible meeting with U.S. President Donald Trump. That historic inter-Korean summit took place last month, resulting in the Panmunjom Declaration. Right after his highly anticipated meeting with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un, Moon's approval rating saw a 10 percentage point spike from the previous week. His current approval rating is at 83%, but Moon's rating have remained in the 70% range or higher throughout his first year in office, the highest ratings of any South Korean president. Just 12 months into his tenure as president, Moon is on the verge of orchestrating an unprecedented summit between U.S. President Donald Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. And this is why his remaining 4 years are something to look forward to. Won Jung-hwan, Arirang News.
Now, from one South Korean president who is very fondly thought of to two others that really aren't, Lee Myung-bak and Park Geun-hye. They are not expected to be present at the court today, despite the fact that both of the former presidents have trial hearings scheduled for this Thursday. The second preparatory trial hearing for Lee, who is accused of accepting bribes worth more than $10 million, is scheduled to take place at the Seoul Central District Court at 2:10 p.m. Park, who has been boycotting all court hearings since last October, is not expected to appear for her hearing over allegations she meddled in the nomination of lawmakers for the former Saenuri Party. Park was sentenced to 24 years behind bars last month after being found guilty on a slew of separate corruption charges. Now, for a look at stories making headlines around the world, and a day since President Trump announced he was pulling out of the Iran nuclear deal. Iran's supreme leader has lashed out at the US president's decision. European powers are also scrambling to salvage the 2015 agreement that is aimed at curbing Tehran's nuclear program. For more on this and other international news, let's turn to our Noah Adam. So Adam, what's the latest on this?
While Mark, Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei launched a scathing verbal attack against Trump on Wednesday and said the US could not be trusted. Take a look.
I said many times from the first day, don't trust America. You heard last night that the President of America made some silly and superficial comments. He had maybe more than 10 lies in his comments. This man will turn to dust, and his body will become food for snakes and ants, and the Islamic Republic will still be standing.
Meanwhile, all the other signatories to the 2015 deal, especially Britain, France and Germany, are trying to salvage the deal. In a phone call to his Iranian counterpart Hassan Rouhani on Wednesday, French President Emmanuel Macron reaffirmed Europe's commitment to the agreement. The sentiment was echoed by Britain's Theresa May and Germany's Angela Merkel. It was not immediately known how Rouhani responded to Macron's phone call, but he had said he would wait a few weeks to talk to other players involved in the deal before deciding on whether to restart Tehran's uranium enrichment. However, the Supreme Leader cast doubt on whether the agreement could be saved.
Now it is being said that we can continue the nuclear deal with these 3 European countries. I don't trust these 3 countries. If you can't get a definite guarantee, and I don't believe it is possible to get a definite guarantee, then we are not able to continue in this fashion.
Also, just moments ago, Israel's defense force said Iranian forces stationed in Syria fired about 20 rockets or projectiles at Israeli military positions in the Golan Heights in Syria. The IDF said it intercepted several, but not all of the rockets, and that they caused minimal damage and no casualties. If confirmed, the assault would mark the first time Iranian forces had fired rockets in a direct strike on Israeli forces in the occupied Golan Heights. In other news, President Trump's nominee to head the CIA has vowed the agency will never resume a program of harsh interrogations, often denounced as torture, under her watch. Gina Haspel told a Senate confirmation hearing on Wednesday that the CIA had learned what she called tough lessons.
Having served in that tumultuous time, I can offer you my personal commitment, clearly and without reservation, that under my leadership, on my watch, CIA will not restart a detention and interrogation program. CIA has learned some tough lessons from that experience. We were asked to tackle a mission that fell outside our expertise.
Haspel's nomination has faced some fierce opposition over her role at a secret CIA prison in Thailand back in 2002, where detainees were waterboarded, an interrogation tactic that simulates drowning. Despite pressure from lawmakers, she provided little detail about those events, but said she would not allow the CIA to undertake activity that she thought was immoral, even if it was technically legal. Malaysia's former ruler and opposition leader Mahathir Mohamad has returned to power by winning a stunning victory in the country's general election. Official results show Mahathir's opposition alliance won 121 seats, passing the threshold of 112 needed to form a government. It marks a landmark shift in power, ending the 60-year rule of Prime Minister Najib Razak's National Front Party. Mahathir will be sworn in later Thursday and at age 92 will become the eldest elected leader in the world.
Good morning. Most parts of the nation experienced some picture-perfect spring weather yesterday under clear skies, and will experience similar weather today with good air under mostly sunny skies. And even though it's only spring and it's cool outside, it's not a good idea to catch too many rays. The sun is strong enough to cause some nasty sunburn. The sun's UV rays can damage your skin in as little as 15 minutes. So your best bet to protect your skin is to use sunscreen. And here are some tips to use sunscreen wisely. Keep them in mind. A somewhat breezy morning will turn warm with a big jump in the readings today, and Seoul will get up to 22 degrees Celsius, while Gyeongju will see a high at 24 degrees this afternoon. And it seems like we are going to have another rainy weekend this weekend, so Be sure to enjoy the sunshine while it lasts. That's Korea for you, and here's international weather for viewers around the world.
Well, that's all the news we have for now on this Thursday morning here in Seoul. Our next bulletin is coming up at noon Korea time. So until then, goodbye.